Thanks again, everyone, for joining us here today. Today, we're going to be talking about the 2022 federal budget in Canada, in particular, that detailed discussion on the grant funding that we see inside. I'm so excited to share with you today our two presenters, Joseph Phelan and Stephanie Caesar. They are both our lead grants development consultants for the Canada team here. Joseph leads all of our research and consultation efforts for the private sector, and Stephanie leads all of it for the public sector. They have both been in and out of the federal budget for Canada. They know so much information about what's inside that, and they're going to be sharing it with you here today. I hope you brought your pen, your pencil, your quick typing hands, because they've got a lot of content to share with you and a lot of knowledge to leave you with. Here's a quick agenda of what we'll be talking about today. First, they're just going to do a quick overview of the federal budget, and then they're going to jump right into the federal priorities that exist inside that document. What do we see coming up again and again and again throughout that budget? Clean energy, innovation, infrastructure, housing. What are the priorities of the federal government? And also, what are the grants that we see coming out of of those priorities? They're also going to talk about regional priorities, so what's happening in the individual provinces that's also outlined in that federal budget. Last, they're going to leave you with some resources, what to do next, what to do with all the information that they're sharing with you. They'll make sure that you have some links and some next steps so that you know best what to do with your grants strategy here over the coming 12 months. So without further ado, I'm going to pass things over to Stephanie so she can talk to us a little bit about the federal budget. Stephanie?
Thank you, Ashley. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Like Ashley said, my name is Stephanie, and it's a pleasure to share with you all the information we know about the federal budget. So the title of the 2022-2023 budget is A Plan to Grow Our Economy and Make Life More Affordable. This budget is for the fiscal year that started on April 1st, 2022, and will end on March 31st, 2023. The total budget of this year is 31.2 billion, which is a fraction of the 101.4 billion from the 2021-2022 budget from last year. So this is the second budget since the announcement of the COVID-19 pandemic, and this budget is focused on three pillars: people, including affordable housing for Canadians, a green transition, given the fact that the government is targeting a net zero economy by 2050, and innovation in order to stimulate the economy of the country. And this webinar, we're going to cover the following themes, like Ashley mentioned earlier: clean energy, infrastructure, innovation, and housing. For a few of the grant programs that we will cover during this webinar, more information will be made available during the course of the year. That being said, we'll still wanted to make you aware of these potential sources of funding so that you can start to prepare in the event of an upcoming call for proposal. So with that being said, I'll turn it over to Joseph to talk about the programs available for clean energy. Joseph?
Thank you, Stephanie. So for clean energy, we have a couple topic areas: the 2030 emissions reduction plan, electricity, as well as agriculture. Over 9 billion has been proposed in the budget that exclusively focuses on climate change. These programs are designed to make it easier and more affordable for Canadians and Canadian businesses to adopt clean technologies. Here are some example programs. You have the Zero Emission Vehicle Infrastructure Program, which has been included in previous budgets. The objective of this program is to address the lack of charging and refueling stations in Canada by increasing the availability of localized charging and hydrogen refueling opportunities. There will be a RFP targeting all streams at some time in 2022. Streams in the past have included public places, on-street workplaces, multi-unit residential buildings, as well as commercial and public fleets. The maximum grant is $5 million per project, and then up to $2 million per project for delivery organizations. Then you have the Agricultural Clean Technology Program, which is $329.4 million over 6 years. And it aims to create an enabling environment for the development and adoption of clean technology that will help drive the changes required to achieve a low carbon economy and promote sustainable growth in Canada's agriculture and agri-food sector. This program officially launched in 2021 during that budget, but as you see here, funds still exist. The adoption stream, however, has been recently closed due to high demand. But the research and innovation stream, which supports pre-market innovation, that includes research, development, demonstration, and commercialization activities, as well as developing transformative clean technology, as well as enabling the expansion of current technologies. That's still open, and the three specific priority areas include green energy and energy efficiency, precision agriculture, and bioeconomy. The next program is the Nature Smart Climate Solution Fund. More money has been allocated for the Nature Smart Climate Solution Fund. The fund's objective is to reduce 2 to 4 megatons of greenhouse gas emissions annually, which is achieved by supporting projects that conserve, restore, and enhance wetlands and grasslands to store and capture carbon. And then in the top right, you see the Low Carbon Economy Fund, which is $2.2 billion over 7 years. And there are two streams associated with this. One is directly allocated to provinces and territories, while the other is for the private sector. It's a $2 billion investment that supports projects that help to reduce Canada's greenhouse gas emissions, promote, generate clean growth, build resilient communities, and create good jobs for Canadians. And there's the Low Carbon Economy Fund, which is, the Low Carbon Economy Leadership Fund, which is for provinces and territories who have worked in partnership with the federal government to identify emissions reduction projects to receive funding. They're eligible to receive up to $30 million plus additional funding based on population size. There's also the Low Carbon Economy Challenge, which recently closed its 2022 expression of interest period. However, there are two streams within the challenge. You have the champions and then the partnerships challenge. So I'll be on the lookout for additional information there. Projects under the challenge must result in reductions in GHG emissions in 2030 and over the lifetime of the project. And then you have the Smart Renewables and Electrification Pathways Program, which provides which has provided $922 million over 4 years for the smart renewable energy and electrical grid modernization projects. And with this new fund, it's going to be $600 million over 7 years. And it supports three types of projects. You have the established renewables, which examples include onshore wind and small hydro examples. Then you have emerging technologies, which energy storage as an example, and then grid modernization, which include microgrids, virtual power plants, and any hardware or software to enable grid services. And then the last program is the Industrial Energy Management Systems, which Budget 2022 proposes to provide $194 million over 5 years, starting in 2022-2023, to National Resources Canada to expand the Industrial Energy Management System program. And this supports the ISO certification, energy managers, cohort-based training, audits, and any energy efficiency-focused retrofits. To key small to moderate projects that fill a gap in the federal suite of industrial programming. Next, we will speak about the electricity component of the budget, and in budget 2022, there's 194 million over 5 years. That's being, $250 million over 4 years to support any pre-development activities of clean electricity projects of national significance. Some examples include interprovincial electricity projects and small modular reactors. And then we're going to move on to the agriculture component of things. And as I mentioned earlier, in the 2050 climate change goals, we have the Agricultural Clean Technology Program, which, as I mentioned, increased to $329.4 million over 6 years. But that's not the only agricultural program that's included in the budget. As the budget mentions, farmers across the country experience the impacts of climate change through floods or droughts. They credited some of the innovation that's already happening at farms countrywide with climate-friendly practices such as precision agriculture technology and low-till techniques. Additional funding has been established with the hopes of reducing greenhouse gas emissions on farms. There's $150 million for Resilient Agricultural Landscape program that supports carbon adaptation while addressing other environmental co-benefits that will be further discussed with provinces and territories. And then there have $100 million over 6 years to federal granting councils to support post-secondary research and development technologies and crop varieties that will allow for net zero emission agriculture. Now I'm going to pass it to Stephanie, who will speak about innovation.
Thank you, Joseph. So for innovation, we will discuss the following programs that are listed in the slide right now. Some programs have been in place for several years. For example, we have the Can Export program and the Strategic Innovation Fund that existed for a few years from now. And others are new programs announced in the budget, such as the Canada Growth Fund, which is a new program that they create that the government is working on. And we'll have more information about this program later this year. So now let's start with the Canada Global Innovation Cluster. In the 2022-2023 budget, the Government of Canada is allocating $750 million to the Canada Global Innovation Clusters to continue funding innovation across the country. The Innovation Superclusters initiative was launched in 2017 as part of the Innovation and Skill Plan in the 2017 budget. There are 5 superclusters in Canada, which are the digital technology, protein industries, advanced manufacturing, scale AI, and ocean. And they are all accepting members from industry, academia, indigenous group, and nonprofit organization. The first one I mentioned is the digital technology supercluster. So this supercluster is based in British Columbia, and the goal is to improve service delivery and efficiency in the natural resource, precision health, and manufacturing sectors through bigger, better data sets and cutting-edge application of augmented reality and cloud computing, just to name a few. The technology focus are virtual, mixed, and augmented reality, data collection and analytic, and quantum computing. They are accepting application through the capacity building program, talent and capacity building program. The emphasis of this call is on building pathways to digital job. If your organization is focused on digital skilling, workforce development, diversity and inclusion, and if you're a member of the supercluster, you're eligible to apply to this call for application. The deadline for near-term opportunities is April 27, and the deadline for long-term opportunities is May 18. The second one is the protein industry supercluster, and this one is based in the Prairie provinces. The goal of the protein industries superclusters is to increase Canada crops value and serve growing markets for plant-based meat, alternative, and new food product. Their technology focus are agri-food enabling technology, including genomics, processing, and information technology. The capacity building programs goals that they have, the goals of this program are to help create a competitive and sustainable business environment, incent new approaches to do business with the agri-food sector. So they are looking for a project that will transform the agri-food sector and build capacity in that sector. Project under capacity building can be led by nonprofit, academia, and private companies. The project can be 1 or 2 years or be completed before March 2023. There is no maximum amount a project can receive, and preference will be given to projects in which industry dollars are invested. The third one is the Advanced Manufacturing Supercluster, and this one is based in Ontario. We call the Advanced Manufacturing Supercluster is also called the Next Generation Manufacturing Canada, and their goal is to build up next generation manufacturing capabilities such as advanced robotics and 3D printing. Their focus area are Internet of Things, machine learning, cybersecurity, and additive manufacturing, which is also called 3D printing. Under the advanced manufacturing, the cluster building stream is available. The objective of the cluster building team is to support a group of Canadian for-profit small businesses to work together to enhance the capabilities and growth of those organizations through the application of advanced manufacturing technologies, best practices, global benchmark, workforce development, and enhanced training and market expansion. funding recipient must be either for-profit organization and not-for-profit organization that facilitate and fund research and development, for whom over 50% of funding is received from a private sector organization in the form of membership fees or similar. The maximum value of a cluster building project is $150,000. The Next Generation Manufacturing Canada will reimburse up to 50% of the maximum value. So this was the third one. The fourth one is the Scale AI Supercluster. And the Scale AI Supercluster is based in Quebec. And the Scale AI is bringing different sectors, for example, retail, manufacturing, infrastructure, and information and communication technology together to build intelligent supply chains. Their technology focus are artificial intelligence and supply chain technology. If you have a project that meets Scale AI objectives, you can complete the project submission online, and a member of the Scale AI team will contact you and review the project with you and guide you through the next steps in order to submit your project proposal. And the last one is the Ocean Supercluster. The Ocean Supercluster is based in the Atlantic Canada, and is the goal of the Ocean Supercluster is to digitize and optimize marine operations, maximize sustainable approaches to resources, and increase safety for those operating in marine environment. The area of focus within technology focus are digital sensors and monitoring, autonomous marine vehicles, energy generation, automation, marine biotechnology, and marine engineering technologies. They have several calls for proposal throughout the year. The last one was the Ocean Leaders Impact Program. So if you're interested in project within the Ocean Supercluster, I'll suggest you visit their website regularly to see what call for proposal is available. So these were the 5 superclusters in Canada, and like I said, all of them have programs that academia, for-profit, non-for-profit can apply to, and work together with the team to bring your project to fruition. The next program I'll be talking about is the Canada Growth Fund. The Canada Growth Fund will be a new public investment vehicle that will operate at arm's length from the federal government. It will invest using a broad suite of financial instruments, including all forms of debt, equity, guarantees, and specialized contracts. The fund will be initially capitalized at $15 billion over the next 5 years. The goal of this fund will be to attract substantial private sector investment to help meet important national economic policy goals in Canada, such as reducing emission and contributing to achieving Canada's climate goals. More information about this program will be available in the fall economic statement. The Government of Canada also announced its intention to create an independent federal innovation and advancement agency. This agency will receive $1 billion over 5 years starting in 2022-2023. This new innovation and investment agency will proactively work with new and established Canadian industries and businesses to help them make the investment they need to innovate, grow, create jobs, and be competitive in the changing global economy. The third program is the CanExport program. Global Affairs Canada will receive $35 million over 5 years, starting in 2022-2023, for the CanExport program to help Canadian businesses secure their intellectual property in foreign markets. The CanExport program has 4 streams. The first stream of the CanExport program is the CanExport Innovation. And under this stream, Canadian small and medium businesses, academic institutions, and non-government research centers can receive up to $75,000 in funding to develop research and development collaboration through partnership in foreign markets. The second stream of the CanExport program is the CanExport Small and Medium-Sized Businesses. The small and medium-sized enterprises can receive up to $50,000 to help them break into new international market through the CanExport SME stream. The third stream is the CanExport Association, and this is an annual funding of up to $250,000 for Canadian national industry associations and trade organizations to pursue international development activities. And the last stream is the CanExport Community Investment, and this is also an annual funding, but up to $500,000 to help Canadian communities and nonprofit, locally based organizations attract, retain, and expand foreign direct investment. CanExport SMEs and innovations are currently accepting application right now. CanExport associations will be accepting application in November 2022, and the next call for application for CanExport Community Investment is yet to be announced. So these three programs, the Canada Growth Fund, the new Federal Innovation and Investment Agency, and CanExport program are all program you can use if you have innovative projects that you're working on. The other program that I'll be sharing about is the Strategic Innovation Fund. Similar to the Superclusters initiative, the Strategic Innovation Fund is also part of the Innovation and Skill Plan that was in the budget 2017 and is from Innovation Science and Economic Development Canada. The Strategic Innovation Fund supports large-scale, transformative, and collaborative projects across all sectors in order to support the Canadian innovation ecosystem. This fund has 5 streams. The first stream is for research and development project that will accelerate technology transfer and commercialization of innovative product, processes, and services. The second stream is for projects that facilitate the growth and expansion of firms in Canada. The third stream is for projects that attract and retain large-scale investment in Canada. The fourth stream is for projects that advance industrial research, development, and technology demonstration through collaboration between academia, nonprofit organizations, and the private sector. And the last stream support large-scale national innovation ecosystem through high-impact collaboration across Canada. To date, they have announced 101 successful projects. In the 2022-2023 budget proposes to provide up to $1 billion to the Strategic Innovation Fund to support life sciences and biomanufacturing firms in Canada and develop more resilient supply chains. This amount builds on investment made throughout the pandemic with manufacturers of vaccines and therapeutics like Sanofi, Medicago, and Moderna. Budget 2022 also proposed to provide up to $1 billion over 6 years in the cash basis starting in 2024-2025 to Innovation, Science and Economic Development Canada for the Strategic Innovation Fund to support critical minerals project with prioritization given to manufacturing, processing, and recycling application. The last program I'll be covering under the innovation teams today is the Canada Digital Adoption Program. The government of Canada announced this program in order to help small and medium-sized businesses bounce back from the pandemic. This program will help small and medium-sized businesses grow their online presence and also upgrade or adopt new digital technologies. This program will help provide funding for about 160,000 different small businesses to help them leverage e-commerce opportunities and digitize their operation to stay competitive and meet their customers' needs in the digital marketplace. Depending on their size, specific needs, and goals, companies can apply for funding under the Grow Your Business Online stream or the Boost Your Business Technology option stream. The Grow Your Business Online grant will help up to 90,000 small businesses take advantage of e-commerce opportunities. Eligible businesses will receive a micro grant of up to $2,400 to help with the costs related to adopting digital technologies. Grant will be available through local and regional service providers across Canada. As of now, the service providers are currently putting in place the final touches on the program, but you can start your application process by leaving your name and contact information, and they will follow up with you directly. Some ineligible businesses under the Grow Your Business Online are corporate chains, franchisee or registered charities, representative of multi-level marketing companies, and also real estate brokerage. Eligible costs for the microgrant include costs related to the implementation of a digital e-commerce plan, costs related to website search optimization, costs related to the installation of an e-commerce platform, including subscription fees, costs of back office solution to support an e-commerce strategy, costs of social media advertising, and costs related to the creation of customer databases. The Boost Your Business Technology Grant offers support to small and medium-sized businesses that want to adopt new digital technologies. Eligible businesses can leverage the grant to pay for the service of a digital advisor. These advisors will work with companies to recommend digital pathways and strategies that will help them achieve their business goals and increase their competitiveness in the digital economy. The grant covers up to 90% of the eligible cost of retaining the services of a digital advisor, up to a maximum grant value of $15,000 per small and medium-sized business to develop a digital adoption plan. Through this program, businesses also have the opportunity to secure a 0% interest loan from the BDC, which is the Business Development Bank of Canada, to facilitate the acquisition of new technology. So this was the last program for the innovation part. Now I'll turn it over to Joseph to talk about the infrastructure program.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. As Stephanie mentioned, I was speaking about infrastructure. And earlier, here's the topics that we're going to cover: the National Trade Corridors Fund, Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, public transportation, the Canada Infrastructure Bank, some Indigenous infrastructure programming, as well as cybersecurity infrastructure. Earlier this year, the government hosted the National Supply Chain Summit to discuss the challenges facing Canada's supply chains while identifying potential solutions. The recommendations of this task force will help determine the development of a national supply chain strategy, the goal of which is to place an emphasis on transportation infrastructure for Canada's supply chains to meet the needs of the economy while withstanding possible disruptions caused by climate change or any global events. So Budget 2022 proposes to provide $603.2 million over 5 years to Transport Canada, which includes $450 million over 5 years to support supply chain projects through the National Trade Corridors Fund, which will help ease the movement of goods across Canada's transportation networks, as well as $136.3 million over 5 years to develop industry-driven solutions to use data to make supply chains more efficient, building on the success of initiatives such as the West Coast Supply Chain Visibility Program. Of this amount, $19 million will be sourced from existing resources, and $16.9 million over 5 years will be made to continue making Canada's supply chains more competitive by cutting needless red tape, which includes working to ensure that regulations across various modes of cargo transportation, whether it's shipping or rail, work effectively together. The goals of these investments are to help lower price for Canadians, make supply chains stronger, improve the ability of Canadian businesses to export their goods abroad, and then deliver essential goods to communities near and far. The Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program has been around for several years now. It provided initially $33.5 billion over an 11-year period for public infrastructure across Canada. So far, it's improved. The Canada government's improved 20 billion projects for a total of over 4,500 projects in communities across the country. Many, however, of the funded projects continue to report construction delays due to the pandemic. Despite significant progress, there is also a need for provinces to commit their remaining funds more quickly to projects that will deliver the infrastructure communities need. Budget 2022 signals the government's intention to accelerate the deadline for provinces to fully commit their remaining funding under the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program to priority projects to March 31st, 2023. The original deadline was March 31st, 2025, which still is in place for territories. And any uncommitted funds after this date will be reallocated to other priorities. The federal government will work closely with provinces to support them in project submissions. Budget 2022 also proposes to extend the construction deadline for the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program. It used to be October 2027. Now it is October of 2033. This extension recognizes delays caused by the pandemic and will ensure that provinces and territories can fund priority projects in a timely manner. For public transportation, the budget 2022 proposes $396.8 million over 2 years for planning and design steps in support of high-frequency rail between Toronto and Quebec City. That's something that's being done from the public transportation standpoint, and that goes to both Transport Canada as well as Infrastructure Canada. The Canada Infrastructure Bank was first created in 2017 to attract private capital for major infrastructure projects and help build more on the infrastructure that's needed across the country. In 2020, the Canada Infrastructure Bank announced a 3-year, $10 billion growth plan, which included a goal of helping Canada achieve its emissions reduction targets. Since then, the Canada Infrastructure Bank has identified opportunities to work with private sector and institutional investors to do even more to help Canada reach a net zero emissions target. To increase the impact, the 2022 budget announced a broadened role for the Canada Infrastructure Bank to invest in private sector-led infrastructure projects that will accelerate Canada's transition to a low-carbon economy. This will allow the Canada Infrastructure Bank to invest in small modular reactors, clean fuel production, hydrogen production, transportation and distribution, and carbon capture, utilization, and storage. These new areas fall under the Canada Infrastructure Bank's existing clean power and green infrastructure investment areas. In addition to these areas, the Canada Infrastructure Bank will continue to invest in its public transportation, broadband, and trade and transportation investment areas. For Indigenous infrastructure, there's to accelerate progress to end long-term drinking water advisories and continue addressing critical infrastructure gaps in First Nations communities on reserve. The budget 2022 proposes to provide $398 million over 2 years to support community infrastructure on reserve, of which at least $247 million will be directed towards water and wastewater infrastructure. There's also $173.2 million over 10 years to support the transfer of water and wastewater services in 17 communities to the Atlantic First Nations Water Authority. And then in 2018, Lubican Lake Band and the governments of Canada and Alberta signed a settlement to resolve the First Nations long-standing claim that included an agreement to support new community infrastructure. And this community infrastructure is included in the 2022 budget, which provides $162.6 million over 3 years to enable the completion of required infrastructure. And the last infrastructure component will be a cybersecurity component. And overall, the budget proposes $125 million over 5 years, and with $25 million ongoing for the Research Support Fund. The Research Support Fund assists Canadian post-secondary institutions with the cost associated with managing their research enterprise, helping them to maintain a world-class research environment. Grants can be used to maintain modern labs and equipment, provide access to up-to-date knowledge resources, provide research management and administrative support, meet regulatory and ethical standards, and transfer knowledge from academia to the private, public, and not-for-profit sectors. Additionally, there's funds to the Communication Security Establishment, and as the Canadian government strives to address the cybersecurity threats that are currently facing, communities and all over the world, and that's why they all provide $263.9 million over 5 years and $96.5 million ongoing to enhance the Communication Security Establishment abilities to launch cyber operations to prevent and defend against cyber attacks. $180.3 million over 5 years, with $40.6 million ongoing to enhance the abilities to prevent and respond to cyber attacks on critical infrastructure through the communications security establishment. And then 178.7 million over 5 years, with 39.5 million ongoing to expand cybersecurity protection for small departments, agencies, and crown corporations. And then 252.3 million over 5 years, with 61.7 ongoing to communication security establishment to make critical government systems more resilient to cyber incidences. That's all we have right now for the cybersecurity component of things. And as more information comes available, we'll definitely be on the loop on that. With that, let's pass it to Stephanie, who will talk about housing.
Thank you. For housing, with the current housing crisis in Canada, the government has put a special emphasis on making sure housing is affordable for Canadians. Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, CMHC, is Canada's national housing agency, and its goal is to make housing affordable for everyone in Canada. The Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation will receive up to $4 billion over 5 years for a new housing accelerator fund to help municipalities, including smaller and rural communities, build 100,000 new homes. The budget also proposed $1.5 billion to extend the Rapid Housing Initiative. The Rapid Housing Initiative was launched in October 2020, and more than 10,000 units have been created. This new funding is expected to create at least 6,000 new affordable housing units, with at least 25% of funding going towards women-focused housing projects. Under the Affordable Housing Innovation Fund, the budget proposed to provide $200 million to help develop and scale up rent-to-own projects across the country. This will include $100 million to support nonprofit, co-ops, developers, and rent-to-own companies building new rent-to-own units. The Innovation Fund will support the development of innovative approaches to affordable housing, create inclusive and accessible communities, and also contribute to the fight against homelessness. The Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation will co-develop and launch an urban, rural, and northern Indigenous housing strategy. Budget 2022 proposed to invest $300 million over 5 years, starting in 2022-2023 to this program. The goal of this program is to help target housing needs for Indigenous communities. As part of the low income stream of the Canada Greener Home Loan Program, an additional $458.5 million will be provided over the duration of the program to Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation to provide low interest loans and grant to low income housing providers. So all these 5 programs are through the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation. Also, to expand co-op housing in Canada, Budget 2022 proposed to reallocate $500 million of funding on the cash basis from the National Housing Co-Investment Fund to launch a new cooperative housing development program. This new program will be co-designed with the Cooperative Housing Federation of Canada and the cooperative housing sector. More information about this program will be available later this year. And Resources Canada will receive up to $150 million over 5 years, starting in 2022-2023, to develop Canada Green Building Strategy. The strategy will include initiatives to further drive building code reform, accelerate the adoption and implementation of performance-based national building codes, promote the use of lower carbon construction materials, and increase the climate resilience of existing buildings. Also in the budget, the budget proposed to provide a further $4 billion over 7 years, starting in 2022-2023, to Indigenous Services Canada and Crown Indigenous Relations and Northern Affairs Canada to accelerate work in closing housing gaps as with the Indigenous communities as follow. So there will be $2.4 billion over 5 years to support First Nation housing on reserves, $565 million over 5 years to support housing and First Nations self-governing and modern treaty holders communities. $845 million over 7 years to support housing and Inuit communities, and $109 billion over 7 years for housing and Métis communities. Okay, so to summarize, we talked about 4 themes that were very present in the budget, and they were clean energy, innovation, infrastructure, and housing. Next, Joseph will talk about the regional economic development agencies and what was announced for them in the 2022-2023 budget.
Thank you, Stephanie. So in Canada, there are 7 regional economic development agencies. There's the Pacific Economic Development of Canada, which is British Columbia, the Prairies Economic Development Canada, which covers the rest of Western Canada. And then you have Canadian Northern Economic Development Agency. You have the Economic Development Agency of Canada for the regions of Quebec. Then you have the Atlantic Canada's Opportunity Agency, as well as the 2 agencies that cover Southern and Northern Ontario. And there's 1.5 billion for regional development agencies is continued to be funneled in, and you have the Jobs and Growth Fund, which is a 700 million program that covers all throughout the country. Every agency, or excuse me, every region outside of Southern Ontario is still accepting applications for the Jobs and Growth Fund, which helps job creators and the organizations that support them to future-proof their businesses, build resiliency, and prepare for growth by transition to a green economy, fostering an inclusive recovery, enhancing competitiveness, and creating jobs in every corner of the country. And these Jobs and Growth Fund, they have an ongoing application deadline, but Southern Ontario recently announced last week that they're no longer accepting applications due to high demand. However, there is still the Business Scale Up and Productivity program, which helps to accelerate the growth of firms and assist with the adoption of new innovative technologies that support scale up, productivity, and the development of an entry into new markets to help companies become more globally competitive. And that's like, for those individuals who aren't unable to apply for the Jobs and Growth Fund under the Southern Ontario component of things, the Business Scale Up and Productivity program is definitely a program worth looking into. Additional funding has been made available for the Canada Community Revitalization Fund. Not-for-profit organizations, municipalities, and other public institutions, as well as Indigenous communities, can apply for funding for projects that aim to revitalize downtown cores and main streets, reinvent outdoor spaces, create green infrastructure, and increase the accessibility of community spaces. And similar to that front, there's the Tourism Relief Fund, which strives to empower tourism operators to create new or enhance existing tourism experiences and products to attract more local as well as domestic visitors. And they do this by help the sector reposition itself to welcome international visitors by offering the best Canadian tourism experiences. And then regions, similar to just like the Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency, they offer an innovation fund. And this helps researchers and innovative businesses team up to develop new products and services and puts them on the market. So depending on where you're located, be on the lookout for these various programs, and they tailor themselves based on where what's popular in that region. So just be aware of these 7 regional economic development agencies because they really do offer a lot of cool programs to consider. Now I'm going to pass it back to Stephanie, who will share some helpful resources.
Thank you, Joseph. So given that most programs announced in the 2022-2022 budget don't have a call for proposal yet, here are some next steps you can prepare to be ready once the program is open. First thing is to subscribe to grants databases. So if there is a program or tool that you are interested in, it will be a good idea to subscribe to the agency page to receive alerts for when the program will be available. You can also follow them on social media like Twitter or LinkedIn to have where they share information about those programs. You can also follow Grants Office Canada on Twitter and LinkedIn because we are always sharing information about grants, about deadlines, and everything that you need to know about those programs that are available. And also subscribe on our website and read our blog post about programs that are available in Canada. Second step could be to have a basic description of your organization. Make sure you have a clear description of your organization, including the type of organization and the purpose of your organization, your mission and values, your CRA number, which is a 9-digit number, the number of employees you have, your incorporation document, everything that basically you'll need to start working on your proposal. Also, have a statement of need. The statement of need should define why the problem is important to the applicant, so important to you, and of interest to the funding source. So explain why your project is important for your business and how the project will accomplish the funder's desired goal. Also have your financial projection. If you're an existing organization, you may already have financial data. Ideally, you should have your past 3 years of financial statements ready. So, because most of the program they'll ask to have your financial data. And if you're just starting your business, you may need to develop your financial projection in case the grant program you would like to apply to ask for your financial data. Also, ideally, you work also on your timeline for deployment. Ideally, you should build a 6-month to a year timeline with all the programs that you would like to apply to, and make sure you have all your program listed and what with the deadlines. And while you're working on your timeline, make sure to give yourself some room for unexpected event. So plan accordingly to make sure that you'll have time to apply to the grants program that you targeted in the beginning. So all these grant programs that we talked about today, if there's one of a few of them that you're interested in, you can start looking on the website of the specific agency to see if when the next call for proposal will be, and start building your timeline to know when you will start applying to this grant, and also reach out to the agency to have the guideline, to start reading the guideline to see what information you will need, and to start working on that, so that once the program is open, you can start working on your proposal. Okay. And in this slide, we have included links to the programs and agencies we mentioned during the webinar. So if you would like to receive a copy of the deck, please send us an email at the email listed in the chat, and we will be happy to forward it to you. Also, if you would like to have additional tips on grant research and how to be grant-ready organization, please listen to our webcast from last month on our website, where we shared a few tips on how to be grant-ready, where to look for grants, and also tips on how to write your grant proposal to make sure that you are putting your best foot forward. Now I'll pass it on to Ashley.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Stephanie. Thanks so much, everyone. Here is the information if you want to send us an email, have any remaining questions, or would like to chat with Joseph and Stephanie about the content that they shared here today. Otherwise, I'll give you all 10 minutes back into your day. I hope you found this to be a good use of your time, and we look forward to seeing you at future webinar events. Have a great one.